Well, alrighty, it is April the 28th, and I hope wherever you are, whenever you're listening to this video, you're having a great day. My name is Gary Willing. I want to welcome you to Search for Signs. And I also want to say, if you have a question or two about Maitreya, about his priorities, anything that I'm talking about in these videos, I welcome questions, and the best thing to do is to post your questions in the comments section. You can also email me at searchforsigns@mail.com, or better yet, get your questions answered by doing your own research. And I've included links in the description portion of every one of these videos that take you to websites that talk about this information. There you can get your questions answered for yourself if you want to do it that way. You can even see if there's any truth to it. Now, I didn't have any questions that came away, but I did have some comments. And let's start with the first one. This person said, I am pissed because the world knows Maitreya is here and does nothing about it. Well, I guess my question back to you would be, does the world know that Maitreya is here? Do they really? Okay, I would say probably not. I would say that the vast majority of humanity have no idea who Maitreya is. If they've seen Maitreya on TV, they don't think anything of it other than maybe what he said might have the ring of truth. That would be the best scenario anyway, right? There might be some, and according to Ben's master, some people are already starting to see and recognize Maitreya, but they don't have any reference to perhaps what Ben was saying. They might not even know who Ben was, right? But they might start to think that he is the Imam Mahdi, or that he is the Christ, or he is some great teacher. But that's about it. I would say the vast majority of the world leaders of the world have no idea who Maitreya is. If you told them who Maitreya was, they probably wouldn't even believe you, right? Now, there are some, but the majority of them don't. So I wouldn't be upset about that per se. What I would be upset about is the corruption that's going on in the world, today, especially in the political arena. I'm speaking as an American citizen who votes in elections here in the United States, right? We basically have a two-party system. There are other parties, but they really don't mean much when it comes to the national elections and so forth, right? So you have the Republicans and the Democrats. Now let's just take the problems that are facing humanity. Let's just take one. Let's just take the environment, right? Because it's affecting everybody. Now the way that the right placates their base is they say that there's no problem. We can cut down as many trees as we want. We can pollute the environment as much as we want, and there's no issue, right? That's what they say. And their base believes it because they trust them. On the left, the Democrats kind of do the same thing, but they do it a little differently. Their spin is, they say there is a problem. You vote for me, I'll do something about it. And then when they get in power, they don't do anything about it. Why? Well, because corporations bribe them legally. They're called donations, right? Political donations. And the more they give, the more that these politicians do for them. And they won't give them the money if there's no return on their investment. It's an investment to them. So those corporations where it's not in their interest to have regulations on the environment, well, that's how they get around it. They bribe the politicians, and they give the same money to Democrats as they do the Republicans. So nothing's getting done. Now, the hopeful sign of it is we're starting to see more and more people march for things like justice, like, the environment and those kind of things. We're seeing it all around the world. Marching for peace. That stuff didn't happen before in that way. And eventually, the people power will force our world leaders to do something about these problems. But right now, they can still turn their back to their people and not do anything. So I would be upset about that. So the question that I would say, is how long has it been? Well, like this is, let me go back. When was the last time that the masters came back into the everyday world after being really away from humanity for 100,000 years, being forgotten by humanity? And then coming back into the everyday world and having to teach humanity like they did, eons ago. How long did it take for them to do that? Well, I would say we don't know because it's never happened before. We are living in a truly unprecedented times in so many areas. And it's just crazy how things just daily, it's just, that's never happened before. That's never happened before. I mean, we're living in a world now in the United States, where a president is being indicted, is actually sitting in a courtroom, you know what I'm saying? An ex-president for what they've done. That's never happened before. You know, we're living in a world where if one misstep could totally destroy all of life on planet Earth, and for not only this generation, for all generations. You know, we have 2 wars going on that could escalate at any moment to a world war and destroy all life on this planet. You know, and nobody's addressing the elephant in the room. How do we bring about peace? Nobody. They're not talking about it. It's not a concern for them. When Maitreya finally starts to speak to humanity enough to where we're starting to recognize that, you know, as Ben would say, Maitreya's head pops above the horizon and starts to talk about the need for peace, that's going to change the world. You know, all this other stuff is really inconsequential. Peace is the most important thing that we could do. Now, why is it important? Well, one, we won't destroy ourselves, right, with nuclear weapons, but also, two, when it comes to the environment, nations have to learn how to get along to be able to solve that problem. The only way that these nations are going to get along is we have to start sharing the resources that we have, that we've been hoarding from one another, that we've been competing against one another with, that we've been using against other nations, that we've been exploiting from those nations and so forth, you know, and giving it back to them. And if you have any concerns about that, or if you think that that's not true, well, look at the Marshall Plan. I talk about it in nearly every video when I talk about the principle of sharing. The Marshall Plan is historical evidence that it brings about justice and goodwill amongst nations. It happened right after World War II. The United States instituted this principle of sharing. They called it the Marshall Plan. And when they did, those nations that participated in it started to trust one another better, haven't attacked one another since. So it did bring about goodwill amongst those nations. That peace wasn't perfect, and it hasn't been perfect, but there is a measure of peace amongst those nations. And those nations, prior to the Marshall Plan, were at one time at war with one another, didn't trust one another. So if we did it with nations, like the United States did it with Iran, or did it with North Korea, it would ease the tensions that we have with those nations. It would, because it did. But yet no one is concerned about it. No one's talking about it. No one's bringing it up to the politicians that they elect. Hey, let's talk about peace and how important it is. It won't be until Maitreya is galvanizing the people that we will see how important it is. Do you see what I'm saying? But don't get upset about people not knowing who Maitreya is. It doesn't matter. What matters is that we start to solve the problems of the world. But the good news is, and this is what I want to say, all will be well. And this is what Maitreya said. All will be well. All manner of things will be well. It might not happen in the time frame that we are thinking, but nobody knows how long it's going to take, right? Because it's never happened before. But doesn't mean that we don't stop trying. I love you guys. You guys have a great day. Enjoy your rest of your weekend, and I'll look forward to talking to you again in future videos. Have a wonderful day. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.